I have been taking care of my half-sister who refuses to believe our father was abusive to me, and it's damaging my relationship with my partner. Not sure if I'm overreacting, but I think my half-sister is intentionally trying to rewrite my childhood trauma. Some background. I grew up with a father who acted very differently in public and in private. In public, he was a respected small business owner who sponsored little league teams and donated to the local food bank. At home, he was an unpredictable alcoholic with a strong temper. I spent my childhood trying not to upset him. He never left visible marks, but the emotional and verbal abuse was constant, and he sometimes used physical discipline that crossed many lines. My father passed away 3 years ago, and I thought the situation was resolved. 2 months after the funeral, I discovered he had another family in a city 45 minutes away. He had lived with a woman he never married and their daughter, Ellie. This explained his frequent business trips and why money was always tight despite his successful business. I reached out to Ellie because she is my half-sister. We met for coffee a few times, and there was some awkwardness. I thought we were building a relationship. The problem began when I mentioned my childhood experiences. Ellie refused to believe me. She said our father was a patient, loving man who never raised his voice or his hand. She seemed to think I was lying to damage his memory. I mostly dropped it after that. We met occasionally, kept things surface level, and avoided talking about our different experiences with the same man. My partner Sam has her own history with childhood abuse and struggles with PTSD, particularly around people denying abuse. She understood why I wanted to keep some relationship with Ellie, but was always uncomfortable with her dismissive attitude about my past. 2 weeks ago, Ellie called me in tears. She had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition that requires intensive treatment. She has no insurance, no real support system besides a few friends, and her mother moved across the country last year with a new partner. She had nowhere else to go, and the treatment makes her too weak to care for herself. I couldn't leave her alone, so after talking with Sam, we agreed Ellie could stay with us during her treatment. We converted our home office into a bedroom, bought medical supplies, and I took time off work to help with her first week of treatment. The first few days were tense but manageable. Ellie was mostly sleeping or watching Netflix, too exhausted from the treatment to do much else. But as she started feeling a bit better, the problems began. 3 days ago, I was making dinner when Sam came in upset. She told me she'd heard Ellie on the phone with someone, laughing about how I make up stories about Dad for attention and how I'm always the dramatic one, according to family. Sam said having someone in our home defend an abuser and undermine my experiences was triggering her trauma, and she had started having panic attacks when I wasn't home. Before I could process this, Ellie entered the kitchen needing help with her medical dressing. While I helped her, she mentioned she'd found some old family photos on her phone and showed them to me, saying things like, "Look how normal Dad looks here, not like the way you describe him." After I helped Ellie, I asked her to stop invalidating my experiences with our father. I explained that just because he was different with her doesn't mean my memories are fabricated. Ellie became defensive, saying she felt like I wanted her to hate the only parent she ever had. She said it wasn't fair that I was trying to poison her memories when she was dealing with a serious medical situation. The conversation escalated. Ellie accused me of being selfish for trying to make her dad look bad, while I explained that we had different relationships with the same person. I tried to stay calm, but I felt myself getting more frustrated, and I felt guilty because she's sick and staying in my home. Then Ellie's medical alarm went off for her medication. I helped her with the meds and checked her vitals. The rest of the evening was awkward and polite. Later that night, I found Sam in our bedroom packing an overnight bag. She said she needed to stay with a friend for a few days because our home no longer felt emotionally safe. She wasn't angry at me, but she couldn't be around someone who triggered her trauma by defending abusive behavior and dismissing victims' experiences. I'm completely torn. I promised to help my half-sister with her recovery, and she has nowhere else to go. Her treatment still has at least 2 weeks left, and the side effects make it impossible for her to be alone. Meanwhile, my relationship with Sam of 7 years is straining, and our home feels tense in a way that reminds me of my childhood. I feel guilty considering asking Ellie to make other arrangements when she's sick and vulnerable. But I also feel like I'm betraying Sam and myself by allowing someone to dismiss and minimize my traumatic experiences in my own home. Maybe I'm expecting too much from someone who never saw that side of our father. She only knew him as a good dad, and I understand it's difficult to reconcile that with what I'm telling her. This morning, Ellie said I should forgive and forget since Dad is gone. I nodded and changed the subject because I didn't have the energy for another argument. Sam texted that she'll be staying at a friend's place for a while and needs space to think. I feel like no matter what I do, I'm failing someone important to me. The worst part is that as days go by with Ellie defending him, I started second-guessing my own memories. I think maybe it wasn't as bad as I remember. Maybe I'm exaggerating, and I hate myself for slipping back into that mindset. I feel like I'm going crazy. Is it normal for family members to have completely different experiences with an abusive parent? Or am I missing something? And how do I balance my responsibility to a sick half-sister with protecting my partner's mental health and my own healing journey? Now for the first update. First of all, I want to thank everyone who commented on my post about my half-sister staying with us while denying my abuse. Your support and validation meant more than you know. I read every comment at least twice. So it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and things have gotten complicated. After that tense evening I wrote about, Sam came home the next day. We had a long talk, and I promised firmer boundaries with Ellie about discussing our father. Sam agreed to give things another try as long as I made sure Ellie's comments about Dad didn't trigger her PTSD. For about a week, things were tense but manageable. I created a care schedule for Ellie's treatments that minimized disruption to Sam's routine. Sam left for work early, and I handled Ellie's morning medication. Then I went to work while Ellie rested, and I came home for lunch to check on her. I've been taking time off for her doctor appointments, using up PTO I was saving for a vacation. Sam arrived home after I did, so I could act as a buffer between them. It wasn't ideal, but we were making it work. Ellie stayed in the guest room watching Netflix or using her phone, and Sam kept her distance. I was running between them as a buffer, but at least everyone was under the same roof. Then yesterday, I was at work when I got a call from my aunt. She and I don't talk often. We speak maybe twice a year. When I saw her name on my phone, I knew something was up. She asked why I was spreading malicious lies about my father. Ellie had contacted several family members to warn them about my false accusations. I left work early and drove home to confront Ellie. She was in the guest room sorting through a box of our father's belongings she had brought with her. I didn't know she had them. I asked, "Why did you contact Aunt Carol behind my back? We agreed not to discuss Dad while you're staying here." Ellie said she was trying to understand why I'd make up stories about him and pulled out a family photo album. She asked, "Does this look like an abusive household to you?" She flipped through photos of holidays, birthdays, and fishing trips. I said, "Photos don't tell the whole story." Then she pulled out a Father's Day card I made when I was around 12. Inside, I'd called him the best dad ever. She asked, "Would you write this about someone who abused you?" I tried to explain that abuse isn't simple, that children can both fear their abuser and seek their approval. I wrote what I thought would keep him happy because the alternative was anger. Our voices rose. I was frustrated trying to explain trauma dynamics to someone who didn't want to understand, and Ellie was defensive about her image of our father. Then Sam knocked on the door. She reminded Ellie it was time for her medication. Sam was trying to de-escalate the situation. Ellie looked at the door and said, "This is family business. We need some privacy," and implied Sam wasn't family. Sam placed Ellie's medication on the dresser and left. Sam looked hurt. For those asking why I don't just kick Ellie out, her treatment makes her unable to care for herself. She gets severe dizziness, fatigue, and sometimes can't walk unassisted. I've considered all options. After Sam left, Ellie said she contacted our extended family because she's planning a memorial event for Dad's upcoming death anniversary and doesn't want me ruining his memory with my stories. She said, "Everyone loved him. I don't understand why you're trying to poison that now that he's gone." I walked out. I couldn't handle it anymore. I'm not sure if she took her medication. That evening, I found Sam in our bedroom researching short-term rentals on her laptop. I felt upset. Sam said, "I can't do this. I know she's sick, and I know she's your sister, but I can't live with someone who triggers my trauma and doesn't see me as family." I sat next to her, lost about what to do. On one hand, I promised to help Ellie through her treatment, and she has nowhere else to go. Her treatment lasts at least 3 more weeks, possibly a month. On the other hand, Sam is my partner of 7 years. We've built a life together. This is her home too. To answer some frequent questions. 1. No, Ellie doesn't have insurance for a home health aide. 2. Yes, I've looked into patient assistance programs, but there's a waiting list. 3. No, we don't have family members who could take her in. Most live out of state or are elderly. Before bed, I checked on Ellie. She was scrolling through more family photos on her phone and crying quietly. When she saw me, she wiped her eyes. She said, "I miss him so much. These pictures are all I have left." In that moment, I realized both Ellie and Sam are processing trauma in different ways. Ellie is grieving a father while dealing with a medical condition. Sam is protecting herself from someone who triggers memories of her own abusers. I'm stuck in the middle. This morning, Sam said she'd stay with a friend on weekends to get some space. I've been researching alternative care options for Ellie, but everything is fully booked or very expensive. I reached out to a support group for adult children of alcoholics, and their perspective has been helpful, even if it doesn't solve my immediate problem. Aunt Carol called again today. She wants to talk to me before Ellie's memorial planning gets too far. I let it go to voicemail. I don't know what to do now. I can't force Ellie to believe my experiences, but I also can't have her undermining me and hurting Sam. Yet I can't abandon her when she's sick and vulnerable. I'm preparing for some difficult conversations in the coming days. I'll update when something significant changes. Now for the second update. Update 2. I took some time away to clear my head about the situation with my half-sister and partner, but I'm back with news. Thanks to everyone who commented on my previous posts. Link to original and first update. The second one got removed temporarily, but mods restored it. The last 2 weeks were very stressful. Sam stayed at her friend's apartment 3 nights a week to cope with having Ellie here. She has PTSD related to gaslighting and abuse denial. When Sam is home, she watches every interaction between me and Ellie. Ellie's treatment has been more difficult than anyone expected. Her doctors adjusted her medication after she had severe side effects, fatigue, dizziness, and concerning liver enzyme levels. Her stay has extended from a few weeks to at least a month. I sat in my car for 10 minutes to process it. The extended family situation worsened. Since Ellie contacted them about my lies regarding Dad, I received constant calls and messages. It started with Aunt Carol, then cousins, my dad's old friends, and my grandmother. Some said they were concerned about my mental health. Others accused me of seeking attention. I stopped answering unknown numbers. I've spent every spare minute researching alternative arrangements for Ellie. I called 17 different medical respite programs, but none were available, affordable, or she didn't qualify. I looked into short-term medical housing, but waiting lists are months long. Her treatment requires daily monitoring and assistance that professional care would handle better. With her finances and medical needs, we have no options. I came home from work early after my boss told me to take the afternoon off. I saw an unfamiliar car in front. I thought Ellie had called an ambulance or something went wrong with her treatment. I found Ellie sitting in our living room with Uncle Robert and Aunt Deborah. They had family photos and my dad's awards spread across the coffee table and couch. Ellie hadn't asked permission or given me a heads up. This was my home, and I was ambushed. Uncle Robert stood up when I entered and started speaking immediately. "We need to talk about these stories you're suddenly inventing about your father," he said. "He's not here to defend himself, and it's not right what you're doing to his memory." I stood in my living room with my keys in my hand. Aunt Deborah was arranging photos in a timeline. "We think you might benefit from therapy for these false memories," she said. "Trauma can make people remember things that never happened. We just want to help you." Ellie watched from the couch. She had planned this intervention to address my alleged delusions about Dad. I noticed Sam's artwork from her therapy had been taken down from the walls. One piece was hidden behind the couch. I put my keys down. "I need you all to leave," I said. "This is my home, and you weren't invited." Uncle Robert said, "We're family. We're just trying to protect your father's memory and help you work through whatever's making you say these horrible things. Everyone knew your dad. He was respected in this community." I tried to speak, but they kept talking over me. Aunt Deborah pulled out more photos. Uncle Robert got louder about how I was hurting the whole family with my lies, and Ellie watched. Sam came home early when I didn't answer her text. She saw family members with photos of my abuser and Sam's artwork removed. She responded firmly, "Everyone needs to leave now." She stood beside me. Aunt Deborah started gathering the photos, and Uncle Robert tried to stare at Sam. Sam repeated, "This is our home. You need to leave." As they gathered their things, Ellie began crying about her treatment and having nowhere else to go if I kicked her out. Uncle Robert looked at me. After they left, I sat on the floor and sobbed while Sam held me. Later that night, Sam told me she couldn't do this anymore. "I love you," she said, "but I cannot live in a home where abuse is defended and minimized every single day, and I think it's killing you too." She didn't give me an ultimatum exactly, but the choice was clear. Figure out a solution for Ellie, or watch my 7-year relationship end. When I checked on Ellie before bed to give her medication, she was texting family members about what had happened. She seemed unaware of how her actions could destroy my relationship. I realized something had to give. I've spent my life accommodating others at my own expense, first with my father, now with Ellie. The pattern was clear. I was sacrificing myself for someone who wouldn't acknowledge it. The memorial event Ellie mentioned is happening next month. I found an invitation on the kitchen counter addressed to me and Sam, with a note from Ellie saying she hopes I can find peace with the truth about Dad. Her request contradicted how she denied my experience. I've spent today researching. I contacted domestic violence organizations that help adult survivors, explained my situation, and asked for resources. One counselor suggested short-term medical housing with sliding scale fees, and I have 3 leads. I'm also reviewing my budget to see if I can help Ellie with a short-term rental near her treatment center. Sam is staying with her friend full-time. She says she needs space to think about our future. I miss her. And I know this situation has been harmful for both of us. I never thought my past would come back through my half-sister defending a father she never knew. This situation with my half-sister keeps getting more complicated. I'll update once I've figured out my next steps and whether there's any way to maintain my relationship and my sanity. Now for the final update. Final update on the half-sister, abusive dad situation. Wow, what a wild 2 months it's been. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented with advice and support on my previous posts. I honestly don't think I would have made it through this without you all. The morning after the family ambush incident, I realized I had reached my limit. I'd spent my whole life being gaslit about my father's abuse. First by him, then by extended family, and now by Ellie. I was done sacrificing my mental health and my relationship for someone who wouldn't respect my reality. Sam had been gone for 3 days. I called in sick to work and spent the day making calls. I reached out to every resource the domestic violence counselor had given me, plus about a dozen more I found online. By mid-afternoon, I had an opening, a medical respite program 20 minutes away that served patients with autoimmune conditions who needed daily support but didn't qualify for hospital admission. They offered a sliding scale payment option based on income. After the call, I realized this was the solution I'd been searching for. I could help Ellie get the care she needed without destroying my relationship or my mental health. I texted Sam immediately, found a program for Ellie, moving her there by end of week. She replied with a heart emoji, which gave me hope we could salvage our relationship. That evening, I sat down with Ellie. The doctors had adjusted her medication again. I explained what I'd found. I found a place that can give you the support you need during your treatment. They have medical staff available 24/7, transportation, and meal service. She asked, "You're kicking me out? When I'm sick? I'm your sister. Why would you send me to strangers?" Classic guilt trip, like Dad. "This isn't about not wanting to help you," I said. "It's about finding the right help for everyone involved." I explained how the situation was affecting my relationship with Sam, how having someone deny my experience in my own home was harmful, and how this program would provide better care than I could. She accused me of abandoning her. Then she showed me a family group chat I didn't know existed. The messages discussed my mental health crisis and false memories about our father, and suggested an intervention with a therapist. Ellie had shared private details, portraying me as unstable and attention-seeking. I went to the storage closet and took out a box of childhood mementos I rarely looked at. I found my diary from when I was 11 or 12, hidden under my mattress. I handed it to Ellie. "Read it." Ellie read entries describing hiding during our father's rages, the time he threw me against a wall for spilling juice on his work papers, how I covered bruises with long sleeves in summer, and the entry about him breaking my arm accidentally while charming hospital staff. She asked, why would he be so different with me? It was genuine confusion. Abusers compartmentalize, I explained. He could be loving to you while being harmful to me. It doesn't make your experiences less real or mine less real. We talked for hours that night. She didn't fully accept everything right away, but she admitted I wasn't making things up. She acknowledged that my diary, written by a child, was compelling evidence. The next morning, I helped Ellie fill out the application for the respite program. 2 days later, she was accepted, and I helped her move in. The facility resembled assisted living with private rooms and shared areas. The staff seemed attentive. I promised to visit regularly and help her process her feelings about our father. That evening, I came home to find Sam sitting on our front steps with her suitcase. She stood up when she saw me, and neither of us spoke. "Is she gone?" Sam finally asked. I nodded. "For good?" "She's at a medical respite center until her treatment is complete. After that, we'll figure something else out, but she won't be coming back here." Sam picked up her bag and followed me inside. That night, we talked about boundaries, safety, and what we needed from each other. She said she needed assurance that our home would remain a safe space for both our experiences. I promised to never let anyone invalidate our traumas here. The extended family situation is still messy. After Ellie shared the diary, reactions were mixed. Some apologized, saying they had no idea what was happening. Others said I manipulated Ellie or exaggerated the diary. Uncle Robert sent an email accusing me of destroying the family with lies. I've blocked most of them on social media and my phone. I'm limiting contact with those who apologized for now. Trust is earned, and they have a long way to go. Ellie and I are building a relationship based on honesty rather than shared delusions. She texts me almost daily, usually with questions about our childhood or things she's processing about our father. Sometimes it's hard to answer, but it feels like healing in a way I didn't expect. Edit. To clarify, I'm not attending the memorial event Ellie was planning for our father. We talked about it, and while she still wants to go, her experiences with him were positive. She's agreed to keep my name out of it and not speak for me or my experiences. She's starting to understand that we can each have our own truth about the same person. Sam and I are in couples therapy now, working through the strain this situation put on our relationship. Some days are harder than others, but we're committed to rebuilding what was broken. Yesterday, she rehung her artwork. This community gave me strength when I was doubting my reality and memories. I'll never forget the kindness of strangers who reminded me that my truth matters, even when family tries to deny it.